So today we're getting into when your reaction becomes the problem. Hey everyone, welcome back. It's been a while. July was heavy for a lot of us. I just simply felt uninspired. That's it. I really didn't feel like creating through July. I made some Zen drawings to kind of remove that creative block. So I started writing again. I write things to we're going to clear some energy here. I have to write out what I speak about because I trail off very easily. I will go into a whole other different story. My mind is very active. So it's very hard for me to stick to the point. I have to write things and organize that so I have something to come back with and speak about. You know what I mean? Something organized. And, this is something I've been wanting to say, really just to say it out loud for myself. I really don't want to be at the vanity. I don't want to be inside when I'm making these videos. I love being outside. I love walking. But one, I am not a heat girl. I am not a summer girl. I am a fall winter girl. So walking videos, it's going to be a little bit. It's going to be until the temperatures wind down for me. Yeah, that's what I do most of my adventures anyways. I love spring and fall because of that. It's nice and cool out. There's mushrooms growing. There's a lot to be admired. In the summer, we're getting attacked by mosquitoes, bugs, and the heat and the density of the woods, Anyways, so today we're getting into when your reaction becomes the problem. And I know that I'm not the only one who's noticed this, but I feel like some people don't actually want accountability. They just want your reaction to things. I've dealt with people like this for my entire life. People who cross boundaries, lie, talk shit behind your back, whatever it is. And then the second you react, that's what becomes the problem in the situation. Not what they did, but your reaction. I don't know why that is such a common thing. I would leave conversations feeling confused, feeling like, wait, how the fuck do we end up here? Like, weren't we addressing a real problem, but now we're addressing my reaction to the problem? And you get to just walk away scot-free? That doesn't fly with me. We started talking about something they did, and now somehow we're talking about my tone, my reaction, my personality, how mean I was, how evil I am, how harsh I can be, how I could have handled it better. I honestly refuse to be the bigger person anymore. There have been a lot of situations where I've had to be the bigger person, and I feel like a lot of women deal with that. Women are constantly being pushed to be the bigger person, especially strong women, opinionated women. I refuse to be the bigger person if it means abandoning myself or staying quiet when someone crosses the line. Fuck that. I realized something. Some people will spend more energy explaining your reaction than they will ever spend reflecting on their own behavior. Accountability. Here's the thing with accountability. I don't expect people to be perfect. I've made mistakes. You've made mistakes. We all make mistakes. That's just life. I think what matters the most to me is what happens after the mistake. Can you own your mistake? Can you apologize without immediately explaining it away? Can you admit when you're wrong? Can you admit you were wrong without having someone else make you feel better about it? Because to me, that's integrity. You can just own your mistake. We can all move along. Everyone gets along. Another thing is when their apology has conditions. A pattern I've noticed is some people will only take accountability when they're getting something in return, or will apologize when they think it's going to get them what they want. They'll apologize, they'll admit they're wrong, but then they'll realize there's still a boundary. You're still protecting your peace, you're still not giving them another chance, and suddenly the apology starts to disappear. Suddenly it's, well, I was going to apologize, but this, that, and the other. Now it's, well, I was going to apologize, but your boundaries pissed me off. Your reaction was worse. You're mean, impossible to talk to. And I'm sitting here again thinking, wait a second, how the fuck did we get here? Because are we even still talking about what happened? Or are we talking about the fact that you're upset that your apology didn't erase the consequences, because those are two completely different conversations. This is something I think people need to understand more. An apology doesn't automatically rebuild trust. Your consistent, continued behavior builds trust. Not because someone said, I'm sorry, but nothing. You lost me there. Both things can be true. And I've gotten to a place where I can honestly say that, yeah, there's a lot of times where I have reacted in ways that I'm not proud of, and I'll own that every single time. I know that my reactions can get mean. I could take responsibility for that, but I'm also not going to pretend that those reactions were for nothing. I'm not going to pretend that they happened for no reason. My reaction does not erase my experience, and it doesn't erase what happened beforehand. Both things can be true. I can take responsibility for how I reacted without pretending someone else's behavior had nothing to do with why I got there. That's what accountability looks like, to me at least. And then there's the distraction. Something I've noticed as well is people who have trouble taking accountability are really good at changing the subject. Like I said, the focal point becomes your reaction, your tone of voice, whatever it is. Well, so you find yourself having to defend your tone. But for me, well, I am not going to defend my tone anymore. I've been, working with people over time. I've been called bossy, bitchy, whatever the fuck it is. Of course, women in lead positions are bossy, bitchy. They're not boss babes. They're bossy in a negative way. They're bitches. You know what I mean? So I'm not defending my tone anymore. I speak with my whole chest now. If you repeatedly disrespect someone, don't act surprised when they finally stand up for themselves. Like, be real. Unlike before, I pay attention now. And because I pay attention, I'm not going to sit there and spend an entire conversation defending my tone or whatever. I'm not going to do that. That's a waste of my energy. Not doing that anymore. And with that being said, I want to also say, don't chase the apology. Don't chase accountability. I know how it is. I know how hard it is to let go of people. You want people to treat you well, take accountability when they treat you poorly, mostly because one, you have self-respect, but two, you really care about these people and you want to keep them in your life. You're trying to hopefully teach them how to love you so they can stay in your life, so they have a spot at your table because you specifically want them there. You love them, so you want them to change their behavior because of this. Because the truth is, you can't keep someone like that around. And that hurts. It hurts having to let go of people because they can't show you the respect you deserve. You guys can't have that mutual respect with each other. If someone genuinely cares about you, if someone genuinely cares about how they've impacted you, you wouldn't have to convince them to apologize, to take accountability, to clean up their own mess. Somebody who cares about you will think about it, they'll sit and reflect on it, and they'll come back when they're ready. And if they don't, that's information too. You know what I mean? Like, if they don't, that tells you what you need to know. Yeah, don't sit there and spend so much time and energy trying to get someone to apologize to you and take accountability. Go live your life. Go live your life. It's not worth chasing after. If they cared, you would know. All right, here is what healing taught me. People ask me why are your standards so high, or if they don't ask me, it's kind of implied. Who does she think she is to have standards so high, kind of thing? I want to say, if somebody's asking who does she think she is, then you're doing something right. You're doing something right. You're standing out. You are ruffling some feathers, and that's a good thing. Who does she think she is? Who do you think you are? I have high standards because I paid for them. I paid for them with years of healing, therapy, reflection, sitting with myself, owning my mistakes, having uncomfortable conversations, looking at parts of myself. I had to look at parts of myself that I didn't want to look at, learning how to communicate better. And it seems like, okay, well, you're supposed to do those things. I don't think we're born with the ability to do these things. I think we learn patterns as we age. There comes a time where we have to recognize what patterns we carried along with us. So I had to learn where I was wrong, learn how to communicate, and it wasn't fun. It was not easy, but it did change me drastically. It really did. I'm still trying to learn myself. An old version of me died, so still building that new version. I've kind of been in a limbo for a while, as you know from my other videos. So yeah, it changed me. It changed my standards. Once you've spent years learning how to face yourself, you stop making excuses for people who refuse to do the same. Behavior that you've had to let go of, behavior that hurts you and others, it gets so draining. It gets to a point where it's almost like, how do people function in their life still having these behaviors, still living the day to day the same way they did 10 years ago? So you stop making excuses for people who refuse to do the same, but that doesn't make you better than them. And I want to make that clear too. I don't feel like I'm better than anybody that is refusing to look at themselves. I just know how much work it actually takes. Because of that, I'm not lowering my standards now. Men and women. I've experienced this with women. I've experienced this with men. And if I'm being honest, I've experienced it more with men. And for a long time, I kept asking myself, why? Why? Was it because I challenged them, asked questions? Am I intimidating? Am I too bossy? Did I see through things that they didn't want me to see through? Honestly, I don't know. I really don't know. These days, I honestly could care less about figuring them out. I'm more interested in protecting my own peace. I'm not just talking about boyfriends either. I'm talking about men in general, like work, friendships, relationships, school. Like, the older I get, the less impressed I am by charm. Not to say I was ever impressed by anybody's charm, because I honestly am not. I'm not. Never have been. It's always been hard to impress me, honestly. Truthfully, as I've grown, there are things that impress me now. And that is a kind heart, integrity, and someone who can tell the truth about themselves. I love that. And this is men and women, everybody. If they want a place in my life, the way to impress me is by owning your shit. Say, yeah, I fucked up, but this is who I became because I faced it. I respect that. Show me someone who doesn't need to become the victim every single time they're held accountable. Those are the people I want to surround myself with. I need to get my nails done. Anyways, I can go off trail really quickly, put it that way. Okay, so here's something I do wish that I learned sooner. As a recovering people pleaser, something that I wish I learned sooner is I used to think if only I explained to myself better, people would understand. And now I kind of realize, I fully realize that people don't really misunderstand you by accident. They misunderstand you because it protects a version of themselves that they've created. If they make you the problem, they don't have to become the problem. And part of me understands this. Part of me understands that this is just like a defense mechanism in a person who is trying to survive. They're in survival mode. So yeah, I get that, but if you want to be a part of my life, you have to own your shit. Some people don't really want forgiveness, they want access to you. They want the consequences to disappear. And when they realized you've raised your standards, that you're not gonna give them 100 other chances like you would in the past, that you're done abandoning yourself to keep them comfortable, your character suddenly becomes the problem. Not because you changed, but because your boundaries did. I've stopped looking for perfect people. I'm looking for people who can tell the truth about themselves, because integrity will always matter more to me than image. And I've learned that protecting my peace sometimes means walking away from people who would rather protect their ego than your relationship. Know what you want before you approach somebody you care about. Know what you want. At the end of the day, do you want to walk away from a relationship knowing that you saved it, knowing that you guys are going to be okay? Or do you want to walk away from a relationship making the other person feel worse, making yourself feel worse, and not having made any progress at all? We are all capable of making mistakes. And I'm sure I've lost relationships in the past because I couldn't take accountability as well. It's a part of growing. Learning how to take accountability is totally a part of growing. It's not something that we're born with, so don't think you can't do it. Don't think you can't face things for the sake of your own relationships. It'll be worth it in the end if you care about those people. Anyways, I'm finished. Thanks for watching again. Thanks for your patience. I know it's been a while since I've made a video. I'm hoping to make more often. It was just a busy month and an emotionally heavy month. So, hello August. Fall is almost here. I'm extremely stoked for that. I'm stoked to take you all on walks with me. That's what I'm really stoked for. All right. Bye, guys.